Instead, Gendron's letter is a rambling pastiche of slogans and internet memes, some of which flatly contradict one another. The document is not recognizably left-wing or right-wing. It's not really political at all. The document is crazy. It's the product of a diseased and organized mind. At one point, Gendron suggests that Fox News is part of some global conspiracy against him. He writes like the mental patient he is, disjointed, irrational, paranoid. Now that's true, not that it makes the atrocities he committed easier to bear. If your daughter was murdered on Saturday in Buffalo, you wouldn't care why the killer did it or who he voted for. But the truth about Peyton Gendron does tell you a lot about the ruthlessness and dishonesty of our political leadership. Within minutes of Saturday's shooting, before all of the bodies of those 10 murdered Americans had even been identified by their loved ones, professional Democrats had begun a coordinated campaign to blame those murders on their political opponents. They did it, they said immediately. Patron Gendron was the heir to Donald Trump, they told us. Trumpism committed mass murder in Buffalo. And for that reason, it followed logically, we must suspend the First Amendment.
Oh, buddy, and yet you're still on TV. Look at you. There you are, expressing your First Amendment all over everybody. That's Tucker Carlson reporting on the manifesto that was left behind by the 18-year-old shooter in Buffalo, which espoused many of the same ideas. In fact, as we looked at, pretty much lifted passages, not only from people like the Christchurch shooter who killed 51 people in New Zealand, but Tucker Carlson himself, not only espousing the Great Replacement theory, which Carlson has discussed at length on his own show, but even framing things in the same way. Let's just pull up this graphic really quickly. We don't have to read it all, but the open questioning about why is diversity our strength? Tucker Carlson says it, and then the mass shooter writes it, right? So here's Carlson, like, is it true that we're allowed to question diversity? And then you have Peyton Gendron, the shooter, saying, why is diversity our greatest strength? These are the same echoes of the same exact thing. And yet here you have Carlson, and he is saying, this is a crazy person. This is not about left or right. He continued on to say, because one mentally ill teenager murdered strangers, you can't be allowed to express your political views out loud. That is what they're telling you. That is what they want to tell you for a long time. But Saturday's massacre gives the pretext and justification. So here he is already making himself the victim. Dan, thoughts on this mass deflection that he's doing? I mean, what did we expect from him, I guess?
Yeah, of course not. The deflection, of course, is going to come. The don't blame me, blame the left. He's hitting these same talking points almost like, dog whistles, because they are dog whistles. And I think this is a playbook that's happened in the right wing before. You had different shooters and different manifestos. And of course, you can't take all of these people extremely seriously because they're unhinged in that way. But they are reacting to culture. They're reacting to these things. Can we prove?
Dan, I think I lost you.
Oh man.
I think you're back. Keep going. All right, we lost Dan for just a second, but we will get him back. He is from the internet, so he better have the internet. But you back? Dan?
Okay. Yes. So sorry about that. But essentially, Tucker Carlson's playbook of denying all of this stuff that happens. Of course, we don't have like a Nielsen rating box at all of these like mass shooters' houses to be able to tell, 745, he was watching the Tucker Carlson program. But no, this Great Replacement theory stuff, it goes viral offside of just watching Fox News. And a lot of people see this and consume it. And of course, if you are unhinged, you can take it in a direction that leads to you justifying the murder of Black people and other people of color in other cases in other places. Just this weekend, there was a shooting at a Thai church in Orange County, California, that also seems to be very racially motivated as well. So this denial is not only so obvious, but Fox News' lawyers, when they have to end up defending Tucker Carlson for the stupid things he says, will always emphasize the fact that he is an entertainment program and that he shouldn't be taken seriously. So if they're going to use that argument, and then let Tucker Carlson spew what he's saying on TV all the time, then it's very clear, at least it has to be clear to us who are really reading between the lines in this, that Tucker Carlson knows what he's doing, but he's gonna try to hide the deck a little bit because ultimately this is going to help the people he wants to be in power retain in power.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly, the shooting in Orange County, it was a Taiwanese church, and it seems to be a Chinese man who carried it out. Different race politics involved, still bigotry, still awful. Last thing on Tucker, he's basically blaming the fact that we talk about race for this shooting. The fact that so essentially that we don't live in a colorblind society, and that why are you even bringing it up? It's the CRT argument. He writes, or he says, race politics always makes us hate each other, and always in a very predictable way. How could you be surprised when identity politics leads to white identity politics? You could not be surprised. You did it, and it was always going to happen. And then what happens next? Nothing good. Race politics is a sin. Race politics always leads to violence and death. This is the most victim blaming stuff I've ever seen. You are the reason. You're the reason that me bringing this up every single night that like people of color are replacing white voters. No, that's not on me. You made me do this by simply existing. You made me do this by what? Our colonizers like inventing race categories and subjugating an entire people and population based on the color of their skin. Oh yeah, no, definitely the oppressed made the oppressor do all that. This is the politics they're pushing. Dan, just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it, and none of this violence would happen.
It's sickening, unbelievably, because Tucker Carlson is one of the biggest, probably the biggest in any given night news person, but the people who have smaller audiences but still very dedicated audiences on the internet, where a lot of this more fringe stuff is happening, they're gonna take cues from Tucker Carlson and they're gonna go even further. And again, once this keeps happening, they're going to gaslight the entire population and say, oh, the people who are pointing out that Newsmax and Fox News and all these other extreme right-wingers who are not extreme anymore, they're now the mainstream of the party. Oh, the fact that we have them on record talking about the Great Replacement Theory and all these different things, that's wrong. They're actually trying to get rid of free speech. In reality, we're the victims here. They're gonna keep running this playbook while people die. Democrats need to do something about this.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.